Hi there and welcome back to another one of our Christmas themed videos from lottiejasminedesigns. So with this one, I wasn't sure which one of these molds to use. So home, love, family. So big decisions. And of course, if I make up too much resin, I'll use maybe 2 or maybe 3 of them. Anyway, so also going to add into these some of these lovely little pearlized snowflakes, possibly some and some of these beautiful stars. Going to use some regular resin. It's made by Tea Expert. It's a 1-to-1 mixing ratio. We've got some nice little holographic star snowflakes there. We will not be using these wooden snowflakes because they're just basically too big to put into any of the sections of these molds. Also made some lovely Hemway glitters there, which are regular glitter like that, and also some with some little shapes in it, so stars and things. So yes, glitter aplenty, and gold leaf and silver leaf and so on and so on. You've got the gist of this by now. So lots of sparkle for the Christmas themed bit. So I've decided to use the Home mold, so that's HOME. And this is just the resin that I've used. I've added in a little bit of sparkle or a little bit of the white into that. So I've just decanted some into a smaller mixing jug there, so it's just a bit easier for me to use. And I'm going to add in some of the crushed glass that you saw there. So that's white crushed glass. I think we bought that from the range. Again, everything that we've used will be listed in the description box down below. So wasn't sure. I think I'm gonna add this into the mixing, the little mini mixer there. It's just so that you don't suddenly have a great influx of crushed glass in one area and none in others. You can of course mix it into a smaller amount of resin and just pour it straight into the mold if you want to do that. So here we go. Decision time. And there's the mould again. I do like the heart shape that forms the middle of the O in the word home. So here we are. I've actually decided to pour a thin covering of resin all down into this mould, making sure it goes into all the parts of each of the letters, the H, the O, the M, the E. There we are. Just pouring that in. Just going careful. And then just making sure that it is just poking it into all the little edges, making sure there's no gaps, no little air bubbles, and so on. And this is before we add in any of the other embellishments, which also includes the crushed glass. So yeah, just down and round there. And I'm just using the end of a silicone brush to do that. So also just trying to go very carefully. Now don't burn your mould. This is a long-nosed lighter and it's just to try and pop any little residual bubbles that are up on the surface there. Trying not to burn your mould and not to burn the resin. You don't want to do that because it will fuse to the side of the mould and then you won't be able to remove it. So next little stage. At the moment, clear resin only is in it, and this is where we're going to add in the crushed glass. So I'm using just a little tiny wooden spoon here. You can use your fingers and sprinkle it if you wish. This has been sped up. I wasn't doing it this quickly. And as you can see, it's going in, and what I'm hoping is it will give the effect of snow, but I've got a nasty feeling because the resin is clear and the glass is white that we are going to lose it within the resin. And yep, the realization has taken over and you can see that we just lost it. So now what I'm doing is I'm going in with some regular silver glitter. Oh, can you see the way that's sparkling? Magical. A bit like Christmas really. Magical. So there we are. Rather a lot of glitter. Can you ever have too much glitter? Possibly, but that's really sparkling and twinkling nicely. A bit like stars in the night sky. There we go. Or fairy dust. Special fairy dust. So all I'm using there is I'm using a micro brush that's got the end missing. And I'm just mixing down the glitter into the resin, because the glitter's so fine, it just sits on the surface of the resin, so need to push it down a bit, which is what I've done there. So here now we have some silver leaf. Now up to you how you handle your silver leaf, if you just use your fingers, if you use tweezers, or if you do what I'm doing here. I'm using the same micro brush. I've just dipped it into the pot of where I've got all the silver leaf, and it's getting out little pieces for me, and I'm just placing it down in various parts within the mould on top of the resin, and it does start to cover the silver leaf. Now this is imitation silver leaf, so it does start to cover it, but that's okay. That's okay. So just adding a little bit more. This is sped up because obviously you need to take your time when doing this. Make sure you get everything placed where you want it placed. There we are. I'm just pushing the the silver leaf down a little bit as well, just to make sure that it is coated by the resin. What you don't want is you don't want everything floating to the surface. You want to try and create depth with this. The other thing to mention is the fact that obviously when you demold this, you are now looking at the right side. It's not like coasters and things like that where a lot of them are around the other way. This, you demold it and that is what you get. You don't then turn it over to view the finished piece. If you did that, you would have home spelt backwards, which is not what you're looking to do here. So just topping up with a bit more resin, which will push some of those embellishments down a bit further into the mould. There we go. So just repeating the first step here. There we are. And a lot of them look like they're disappearing. It's just because they've been pushed down a bit further by this resin. As I said, we're using Tea Expert resin, 1:1 mixing ratio. Really like using that. There we are. So at this point I thought, well, that looks rather pretty, but I think it needs a bit more. So adopting the shove it all in, throw it all in method, as liked by Claire from Claire's Crafty Corner. Most of the time that works for us as well. Because like I said, you can never have too much sparkle, too much glitter. And this is looking, it was looking quite full, and now I'm thinking it's looking quite bare, quite empty. So there we are. We are just making a decision as to what to put in next. So I'm going in, I'm using the tweezers this time. I'm putting in these lovely pearl effect snowflakes, which you would have seen in a previous project where we added them to some lovely coasters, where we used similar embellishments to that. I noticed it's got a little silver star in there as well. So there we are. There are those lovely pearlized snowflakes. I'm just adding a few more of these lovely silver holographic stars. Again, some of this will get lost because you are going to put some more resin on. But that's okay. As I said, it gives depth to the piece. Just adding in a few more bits. Obviously, you can only add in embellishments that will fit in the gaps in the width that you've got to work with. Of course, you don't have to do this. You could just fill it full of resin with sparkle, with a bit of glitter in it. Or you could just use silver leaf and just add silver leaf to the resin itself and then pour it straight in. It's totally up to you. Lots of options and available with this. So now I'm adding in some Hemway glitter. And this is silver with bits of holographic in it. And it's lots of little tiny stars and a moon and so on. So it's just giving it that additional little pop of colour to this mould, to this project. And there I am going in again with the micro brush, just poking the things down a bit, and then a bit more resin, just trying to fill it up to the top of the mould without any overspill. Fingers crossed. There we are. It was at this point I realised I'd got way too much resin made up, and you'll have a sneak peek at the very end. You will see that I did actually use it in another mould, the mould that says Love, L-O-V-E, and used a different colourway. In fact, my partner did that. He didn't put as much in as I have here. I'm just clearing the bubbles there with the long nose lighter. This is a bit of a close-up, so as you can see I've got bits of glitter on mould, but that's okay, that will come off. And then we will leave it to cure. Now this is the following day. It did cure really well. It's quite hard to the touch. Obviously, if you don't want to touch it with your bare hands, put some gloves on. And here we go. So this is the demold process. Now, this took a little bit of doing. It was still a bit bendy and pliable. Wait another few hours and it will be rock solid. If you want to wait till then before demolding, then by all means do. Yeah, I was just pointing there to the end of the bottom of the E. The E was a bit bendy, as you can see there. And it took a bit of work getting this out of this mould. Yeah, where it's got, you know, little sections and so on. So just being very careful, because you don't want to distress the mould, you don't want to break the mould or tear it, and you certainly don't want your piece to be too bendy, because I'm quite impatient and I can never wait a full 24 hours for anything to cure. So it's come out of the mould quite nice and cleanly. Just looking for any imperfections. This is the other way round, you see, which is what you'd normally do, and this is the right way round. This is the right way. So just placing it face down, well, flat onto a surface. Still a little bit bendy in places, so just going to let that cure for a wee bit longer. I'm just taking you down if I can. There we are for a bit of a close-up. There we go. I think it looks lovely. Anyway, thank you for watching. Take care. Don't forget, like, share and subscribe. And we'll see you for the next one. Bye.